AM Agenda with Kieran Gilbert.
Good morning and welcome to the program. The Treasurer, Joe Hockey, has this morning confirmed that the budget deficit is going to come in less than the Treasury had previously forecast in the mid-year budget update, and also going to defy market expectations. That indicating that the deficit this year is going to be less than the $40 billion previously predicted by Treasury back in December of last year.
The budget is actually going to be focused on the issues that matter to Australians. We are focused on strengthening the Australian economy, giving people the opportunity to get ahead, to have a go. Market expectations are for a budget deficit of around $40 to $41 billion. We're going to beat that, and we're going to beat it every year. We're very focused on doing what is right for the Australian people, to give people the chance to get ahead. Now, we're sticking to our plan. Our plan, which last year was focused on strengthening the bottom line, and importantly, building enough resilience into the Australian economy so that it can cope with whatever headwinds might come along. The last 12 months, we've seen significant challenges for the Australian economy. The last 18 months we've had to write off $90 billion of expected revenue, but yet we are still on a credible trajectory back to surplus. In fact, the trajectory is no different to that I announced at the end of last year, and we're doing that despite all the different headwinds. So this is delivering on what we've all been saying. It's responsible, it's measured, and it's fair, and it's going to be a big help for Australia's small businesses and Australian families.
With me this morning, the Assistant Treasurer Josh Frydenberg and the Shadow Employment Minister Brendan O'Connor. Gentlemen, good morning to you both.
Nice to meet you.
Josh Frydenberg, some positive news to start this budget day. I guess a very stark contrast to last year, and that's the government's thing here, isn't it, to highlight a contrast with last year, which was essentially a political disaster.
Well, this year's budget is very strong. It's very positive about the opportunities for Australia going forward. It's also a responsible budget in that new spending measures have been offset by savings measures. I think you'll see tonight's focus on jobs, small business, families, the multinational tax agenda to be warmly received across the country.
And in terms of the deficit, though, as the Treasurer said, they're going to defy market expectations?
Well, he was referring there to some market economists who had predicted the deficit would rise. We're actually paring down the deficit over time, and that's a significant achievement given the headwinds we're facing, Kieran, on the revenue side, with the iron ore price half today what it was when we came to government.
Doesn't this show that the Prime Minister's got the right balance in terms of his language, that, you know, every spend has got to be offset by a save, and therefore a recovering iron ore price and a boost in jobs growth has led the government to this position?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but the Treasurer came into government promising that he'd have a surplus in 1 year. Then he moved that out to 3 years. Now we're talking about a decade. So I wouldn't get too carried away about announcing that there's going to be a deficit in the tens of billions of dollars when the government promised that they were going to return to surplus immediately. And let's look at what will happen. The last budget handed down by this Treasurer had a dampening impact on the economy, business and consumer confidence down, economic growth down, unemployment rising. So they have to, of course, present a credible budget this evening, but on what we've heard to date, we don't see that happening.
Now, in terms of the trajectory to surplus, again, the Treasurer is saying that the trajectory to surplus, as announced in the mid-year budget update at the end of last year, which was, from memory, beyond the forward estimates, it was in 2019-2020, so he says that will remain unchanged.
Well, all be revealed tonight, but you know what Brendan forgets to mention?
Well, he revealed it this morning.
Well, he is going to give you the details tonight, Kieran, which I'm sure you and Brendan look forward to seeing. But what Brendan forgot to tell you was that when Wayne Swan delivered his budgets, he announced 4 years of surpluses. Well, Joe Hockey won't be doing that tonight. He understands the pressures that the budget is under. We're going down the responsible path of finding savings measures. Labor's going down the path of increasing taxes, particularly on people's superannuation and savings. We realise that the paid parental leave scheme that we had initially proposed is now not going ahead, and now we're ploughing money into childcare, particularly for low and middle income earners.
And on the PPL scheme, though, let's drill down on this, because the business community is saying they're going to pull their schemes. The Chamber of Commerce saying that this will lead to companies, organisations saying, well, if the government's not going to let our workers have both, well, why should we subsidise the government?
Well, look, I think Jennifer Westacott and Joe Hockey are on the same page here, because Jennifer Westacott said she hopes that employers don't reduce their existing scheme, and what Joe Hockey said, Joe Hockey said was, I think, a very good line, a very telling line, when he said that the employers who put in paid parental leave schemes did it for all the right reasons. If employers now would pull out those schemes because they wanted the taxpayer to bear the burden of the PPL for their employees, they'd be doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Kieran, let's look at how far this government's moved from its commitments. We had a Prime Minister who introduced what was going to be a gold-plated parental scheme. Now it's abolishing the parental scheme, but worse, it's going to lead to employers taking entitlements away from workers in the form of parental scheme in workplaces. So this policy is going to have an adverse effect upon parents, and indeed, of course, it's fundamentally at odds with what the Prime Minister promised. His signature policy has been trashed, and the impact on parents will be felt. Now, we'll look at what benefits there may arise in the childcare area, but certainly I think many women in particular have good reason to be disappointed by the Prime Minister and the Treasurer dishonouring their commitments.
Now, the Labor Party says that this is the way it was designed, that it's a minimum wage scheme designed to boost... to complement private sector or public sector schemes, and that the WHO guidelines suggest that new mothers breastfeed for 6 months.
Yeah.
Shouldn't, and that was the Prime Minister's whole premise of his 6-month plan, and now quite a backflip.
But I mean, I think the Labor Party is boxing themselves into a corner here. They're finding themselves supporting double dipping. They're finding themselves supporting public servants being able to access both employer and extra government
Why do you
support.
say public servants?
Well, and also employers.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I mean,
that's
exactly.
right. But the point is, there are a lot of private sector individuals,
Big employers,
big corporates doing exactly the same thing.
34,000. 34,000 women now who currently get access to the both programs will not get access
this is
to both
not
programs.
This is not double dipping. This is double crossing by the Prime Minister on his signature policy.
All right, childcare. Let's look at this, because I don't see how Labor can oppose this idea. It is the barbecue stopper. I declare an interest, a 2-year-old in daycare, but knowing that this for individuals that you're individuals that you're targeting, low and middle income earners. How do you deny a bit of extra money for them?
Let's look at exactly what will be outlined this evening. The concern we will have is, where does this money come from? Is it coming from families in an area which will impact adversely on those households? Now, we need to see where they're drawing the money down from to pay for benefits to childcare. Of course, Labor supports improvements to childcare. We brought in the 50% rebate. We believe that you need to have a decent universal childcare arrangement for families across the nation. But where is this money coming from?
Yeah, well, I guess that's a question for you. If you're going to disagree with their cuts,
then you're
going to find somewhere else.
Well, we do need to look at, OK, that's fair enough, but we do need to look at where the money's being drawn from. So the criticism may not be in isolation just on the announcement. It's about where will that money come from.
That's fair enough, isn't it?
Look, can I just say, Labor's turning into a policy-free zone. Or it's already been. I mean, it's got some ideas around increased taxes, but around childcare and pensions, you completely vacated the field. We have gone with the Productivity Commission's recommendations here for a sliding scale of support from 85% of the childcare costs for the lower income earners to a 50% contribution from the government.
They don't oppose that.
We think over 200,000 families will now either enter the workforce or spend longer in the workforce as a result of our measures, because we have tightened the activity test. So no longer will government be providing support for childcare unless, of course,
but you're giving, as Senator Lambie, to quote Senator Lambie yesterday, you're giving with one hand and taking with the other, aren't you?
Look, we have to find savings, and that is the reality of it. Otherwise, the Labor's deficit and debt would just continue to grow, and that's not responsible.
So, but Labor, you would think, will be proactive in seeking commensurate savings, because, as I say, I don't see politically how you could have this fight on childcare.
We do have to look at the impact across the board. For example, the intersection on what we introduced as the paid parental leave and childcare. That paid parental scheme, a minimum parental scheme, will be impacted by the government preventing people getting those entitlements if they get employment entitlements. So we have to look at those things, and where is the money coming from to fund those childcare?
I want to finish on a lighter note quickly. The Treasurer asked for a photograph this morning, a selfie as they're called. Let's have a look on the forecourt of Parliament.
Where are the offsets coming from for the...
Sure. Yes. Although I don't want to feel like Kevin Rudd here.
Thank you so much. Good luck with everything tonight.
Thank you.
Treasurer, can I just ask you in relation to the Earn and Learn proposal?
It wasn't a setup. It wasn't a setup. Never met him before in my life.
Joe Hockey says he doesn't want to feel like Kevin Rudd. You know what? It was nice to see the Treasurer smile.
Exactly.
He hasn't been smiling much.
No, because he's been tied up out the back by the understudy, you know, for the last few weeks.
Come on, we're meant to have a light. No, to finish. He puts the boot in.
Well, you know, Joe Hockey did save Kevin Rudd from a moving stream.
I just hope the real Treasurer stands
track. But look,
Joe Hockey, the real Treasurer stands up tonight.
Well, having been there, Brendan, in the ERC process for the last 5 or 6 months, we have seen a Treasurer and a Finance Minister completely focused on delivering a budget for all of us.
Okay, so we're going to go, gents. Have a good day. A quick break. Back in just a moment.
Thank you.